if it is true that we create our own reality, why isn't it then possible to just make the world a better place for certain people who want to, for example, change something on a systemic level or on a macroscopic level? The way that reality functions and the way that, things manifest in form, it does happen through thought, but it happens through the thoughts of everybody in this reality. It's what they call a consensus reality. So we are very, very complex beings, humans, and we live in a very complex world. We don't understand everything. And it is true that thought creates reality, but the reality that I live in is not just created by me. And this is the problem that I have in the way that the law of attraction is being simplified, because the reality that I am living in is created by every being in this reality. Let's stick to humanity. Every human on earth is creating the reality that I live in as well. Every human in my country or in my family is a part of creating the reality that I live in. And all my ancestors have put thought, focus, energy into the reality that I am now experiencing. And so in order to change the people that I hang out with, the people in my village, the people in my country, the politicians in my country, the whiff, it's like what I'm experiencing is not just my creation. This idea may not sound appealing to many people because it introduces the idea that you don't live in an isolated bubble. When you think about a consensus reality, well, I see it as the sum product of everything, every being in this time-space reality that is creating. And that is not just humanity, We think of consciousness as human consciousness, but everything in this reality is consciousness and has a focus. Technology also is a consciousness which has a focus. It's not able to focus on deliberately creating like humans do, but it has a consciousness. And so when we talk about consensus reality, it is very interesting to introduce AI in the conversation, because we created this technology that is able to think for itself. And that means that we will also be co-creating this reality together with artificial intelligence. So then the question becomes, how do we want to treat it? What is the type of relationship that we want to develop with AI in order to create a reality that is wanted for humanity? Which is a super important conversation that is not being had or not being had in public at this point in time. So to go back to this concept of consensus reality, when we are trying to manifest something very simple, it will appear in our reality. It will happen because there is no or little other interference with that, with the focus that we're putting out there to manifest something in our reality. For example, the word that you are thinking about appears on a billboard. That's a very simple manifestation. But when someone is, for example, trying to change something in this world, the fact that we live in a consensus reality starts playing into that manifestation very heavily. Because if that what I'm trying to change is involving other people, or it poses a quote-unquote threat to other people's perspectives, it won't just happen like that. This is why it's so hard to, for example, make a change on a systemic level. And it is also one of the reasons why sowing division within a population is actually the best way to make sure that nothing will ever change. Because once a group of people that is ruled by a system that needs to change once that group of people is divided, then the amount of resistance that will be there to change that system towards something that will work better for everyone, it's going to be massive, because not only are people stuck within their own limited bubble, which makes them resistant to their own empowerment, but then there's also the resistance against one another. And the fact that we live in a consensus reality makes it very hard to change things on a systemic level or on a group level, because the amount of resistance that you have to deal with when you want to change something on a group level is way higher than when you want to change something in your personal life. Which is why, for example, fear-based mass media is such a powerfully detrimental agent in this world, because it changes the subconscious focus of so many people, and it actually changes reality, therefore. The only solution that I have come up with for my own life when it comes to this idea of consensus reality is to work as microscopically as possible, which in many cases, of course, means doing inner work, and then export that inner work to my immediate environment. And I think that when enough people do that, this could spread like a wildfire. But the challenge with that, of course, is that, you don't know who else is doing it, except for, the few people who have maybe also come to the same conclusion. I have this feeling that a lot of times when someone wants to change something on a macroscopic level and they don't have their own life in order, it's an attempt to externalize their own internal healing. It's the concept of the wounded healer. This is why I find this idea of, it's Jordan Peterson has this idea that don't go fix the world before you have your own house in order, or something like that. I cannot remember it exactly. But it's quite an interesting concept, because when you want to change something on a macroscopic level, and microscopically there are misalignments in your life that you are not addressing, it's going to pose problems. So yeah, law of attraction is definitely more complicated than most people make it out to be. But I also think that the way that it is being explained, it's a good starting point. And the thing is also that when people are in a place where they don't understand that they create their own reality, teaching people that they are actually manifesting their own reality, albeit a little bit in an inflated way, is a good thing. I mean, it's the next best step, I think, for someone who is completely unaware that they create their reality and to whom life is just happening. I don't think that all the things that I've just explained would be relevant. So yeah, I hope that this video has brought the nuance that you didn't know you were seeking for, maybe. And if you like this video, if you found it enjoyable, you can hit the like button and subscribe to my channel. And if you have any questions or insights, don't hesitate to drop me an email and I'll be sure to respond. See you in the next video. Bye bye.